Did Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and were they gullible enough to fall into it?
He's had enough. He wants to clean the monarchy, and it's all now in the hands of the courts. Meghan Markle is in full mode panic along with Harry because they both know what they did.
The stories would come out. So apparently, according to other journalists, we found out that there were a lot of porcupines probably told to the royals and even to Harry when they met her, and in order to cover up.
It's actually torture to listen to that woman now, because every other word out of her mouth is a lie. None of it really makes sense.
Prince William just drew a line in the sand, and it runs straight through Meghan Markle's maternity ward story. While the Duchess was busy filming TikTok dances in a hospital delivery room and posting them on Instagram for engagement, a courtroom across the Atlantic was quietly blowing the lid off a legal problem she probably prayed would never reach daylight.
Maybe King Charles didn't want to do anything about it given what's going on with Andrew, but in order for William to save the monarchy, he has to deal with the Archie and Lilibet problem.
A £157 million inheritance fight, a surrogate-born aristocratic heir, and a 400-year-old law that just asked a question the palace has been tiptoeing around since 2019. Were the Sussex children born of the body? Because if they weren't, and there's a growing crowd of people who believe they weren't, the line of succession doesn't just have a crack, it has a crater.
People think her kids are fake, they think they're AI.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right, and everything she said has come true.
A few days ago, one of the biggest legal stories in British aristocracy broke, and barely anyone in the Meghan niche covered it properly.
Something is happening right now in the courts, which is incredibly important, and nobody's paying attention to it because this will make history, and not in a good way for Rachel Meghan Markle.
The Marquess of Bath, Saul and Thin, walked into a high court in Bristol with his legal team and admitted something extraordinary. His second son, 9-year-old Henry, born through surrogacy in West Hollywood back in 2016, might not legally qualify as an heir to the family fortune.
Trevor put an article out there that Meghan had a hysterectomy and couldn't have children, and that was a big issue in their relationship. So that says a lot to the fake royal kids right now, because obviously they couldn't have come out of her. So that's something that she obviously is going to have to deal with.
We're talking £157 million, tied up in trusts that use language from before 1970, pre-modern definitions. And under those definitions, a child not born of the body of the mother simply doesn't compute.
She had a lot of health issues and she couldn't have one of her children. So they had to use a surrogate in the United States. Why the United States? Because in the United Kingdom, the children, even though through a surrogate, belong to the surrogate.
The judge, Mr. Justice Matthews, spelled it out himself. There is uncertainty as to whether Henry falls at present within the class of beneficiaries. A 9-year-old boy, biologically 100% a Thin, born to his parents through legal documented surrogacy. And the British legal system looked at him and said, "We're not sure you count. Now hold that thought, because we're about to connect it to Montecito."
The Marquess of Bath was open and transparent about this. So she is right now going through the legal process because as per the Peerage Act of 1963, that child born in the United States from a surrogate is not entitled to anything, inheritance or anything.
See, here's what makes this case a powder keg for Meghan and Harry. The royal line of succession runs on the exact same ancient principle, born of the body. That phrase has quietly governed who gets to sit on the British throne since the Act of Settlement in 1701, 325 years. Every single royal heir born under that clause, witnessed by palace-appointed officials, documented, verified, no shortcuts, no exceptions, no workarounds, until Archie showed up and the rule book apparently went out the window.
Who does he take after? Does he look like anyone?
We're still trying to figure that out.
Everyone says that babies change so much over 2 weeks. We're basically sort of monitoring how the changing process happens over this next month, really. But his looks are changing every single day. Yeah. So who knows?
Look, I'm not someone who hates Meghan Markle because the internet told me to. I've covered her for long enough to see the pattern for myself. The woman who sits in front of Oprah, talking about living authentically, is the same woman whose team sends cease and desist letters every time someone asks a straightforward question about her pregnancy timeline. That's not authenticity. That's brand management wearing a tiara.
Meghan Markle has been incredibly quiet about the birth, but mostly the pregnancy of these children. Everything has been shady. The one who's been blabbing and saying crazy things is Prince Harry.
And the pregnancy thing? It's not about conspiracy theories. It's about a simple question that any family built on bloodline succession should be able to answer without hiring a legal team. Where, when, and how were these children born? And who verified it? William's kids? Born at St. Mary's Hospital. Photographed on the steps within hours. Entire nation watched. Done.
I mean, obviously when William was born and Harry was born and George and Charlotte and Louis, we got great pictures outside the hospital. I remember, and William and Catherine especially, they made such an effort to show the whole world their new baby.
Meghan's kids? That's where it gets interesting. When Archie Harrison, Mountbatten Windsor, arrived at London's Portland Hospital on May 6th, 2019, several things happened that had never happened before for a birth this close to the throne. No photo call on the hospital steps, a tradition that goes back decades.
And then when the baby was born, when Archie was born, that was another, in my view, a disaster because I knew we was not going to get a picture of it. Everybody was hoping we would get pictures of it.
No notice signed by the attending physicians, which had been standard protocol for every royal birth in living memory.
Do you remember Meghan actually refused to use the hospital that was usually used by royals and refused to use all of the normal medical staff? And there was all of the weirdness over the timing of the birth of Archie.
The birth certificate listed the details, yes, but something felt off to a lot of people. Harry himself later wrote in Spare that they were out of there within 2 hours, into the lift, into the underground car park, into the people carrier, and gone. Back at Frogmore Cottage before the palace press office had even confirmed Meghan was in labor.
We've had Harry on Spare talking about, how Meghan Markle, how complicated it was, how they went to the hospital, how Meghan Markle had to have 2 epidurals. We know all of that is BS. We know all of that is a lie.
For a family that spent 3 centuries making royal births a public event, not for entertainment, but for constitutional legitimacy, that's not just unusual. That's a deliberate departure from every precedent that existed. And then there's the way Harry describes it. He writes about setting up electric candles, framed photos of Diana, an Ayurvedic doctor advising them to whisper wishes to the baby in its first 60 seconds of life. It reads like a Goop article, not a royal birth record. As one commenter put it, other royals give you a birth announcement. Harry gave us a scented candle inventory.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
Lilibet's arrival in June 2021 raised even more eyebrows. Born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, Harry wrote in Spare that he literally delivered the baby himself. I slid my hands under the tiny back and neck. I pulled our precious daughter from that world into this. And honestly, if that's true, it's beautiful. Nobody questions a father wanting that experience. But here's the constitutional problem that nobody in Montecito seems interested in addressing.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery. If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
Unlike every significant royal birth since the early 1700s, neither Archie's nor Lilibet's arrival was independently witnessed or verified by palace-appointed officials. Not one. No independent medical witness. No Privy Council notification in the traditional form. Just Harry's word. And when your children sit 6th and 7th in line to the British throne, your word, however poetic, isn't a constitutional document.
Meghan, a geriatric mother. The family claims and states that Meghan had a hysterectomy. How can a woman with a hysterectomy be pregnant? And most of all, why did the royal family go along with this? And what's gonna happen now that this has come out?
So here's the thing that keeps me up at night about this story. If Meghan and Harry have nothing to hide, and maybe they don't, then why hasn't a single straightforward confirmation been issued in 6 years? Not a legal threat, not a lawyer's letter, An actual, simple, here's the verification, case closed statement. Why does the simplest question in royal history require the most complicated response?
So Prince William knows that the crown cannot keep making the same mistakes in the past, that nobody who is not working royal can hold titles.
Prince William, according to multiple well-placed sources, finds these circumstances more than a little suspicious. One insider told Paula M. that William considers the details around both births fishy.
He knows that there is something fishy about Harry and Meghan's kids.
And that's a word a future king doesn't use casually. His actions back it up. He's systematically moved to distance the Sussex brand from the monarchy's official identity. Profiles scrubbed from the royal website, titles under constant review for commercial exploitation.
At this point in time, King Charles doesn't understand that he cannot continue having Harry and Meghan on the British monarchy's website when they are absolutely trashing the very same institution and using titles for commercial purposes, which is basically repeating the same pattern that Sarah Ferguson has done and even Andrew did. That has to stop.
Someone online nailed it perfectly when they wrote, Meghan, if you hate the royals so much, stop using the title they gave you. That's the hypocrisy that drives people mad. Not the tabloid gossip, not the conspiracy theories, the fact that she simultaneously rejects the institution and clings to its credentials. You can't trash the monarchy on Netflix and then sign your jam labels, Duchess of Sussex. Pick a lane.
She wants all of the privileges that go along with an identity, but she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She doesn't want to do any of the work. She wants the tiara. She doesn't want the public service.
And that brings us back to the Marquis of Bath, because his case just turned the theoretical into the legal. The Marquis loves his son. He's not hiding anything. He openly used surrogacy, openly acknowledges it, and is openly fighting in court to make sure Henry's rights are protected. That's a father doing right by his child, full respect. But here's what his case accidentally proves. The existing law, British inheritance law, trust law, constitutional law, does not automatically include surrogate-born children.
And the Peerage Act of 1963 clearly states, just like for royalty, that a surrogate cannot be used.
Mr. Justice Matthews said so himself. The Marquis has to petition the court to manually add Henry as a beneficiary. The law doesn't do it on its own. Now apply that to the Crown, the Act of Settlement, the succession to the Crown Act. These aren't private trust documents that a wealthy family can petition to amend over tea. These are constitutional instruments that have governed the British monarchy for centuries. And if a £157 million estate has uncertainty about a surrogate-born child's legal standing, what does a 1,000-year-old crown have?
And William has ordered an open investigation into Lilibet and Archie's birth because he knows that that cannot be hanging over the head of the monarchy, over his reign.
And this is where the question gets really uncomfortable. If, and I'm being very careful with my words here, if it were ever formally established that surrogacy was involved in either Sussex birth, could Parliament be forced to address whether Archie and Lilibet's positions in the line of succession are constitutionally valid? Because the Marquis of Bath case suggests the answer isn't the automatic, of course they are, that Meghan's legal team would want you to believe.
What we said, everything I said in the beginning was favorable. Nobody printed that. And when I said nothing, they created stories. And it was really just...
Samantha Markle's words keep hanging in the air like smoke that won't clear. People need to look at the timeline. She said that years ago. At the time, most dismissed it as a bitter sister throwing grenades. But with the Marquis of Bath's case now spread across every major British newspaper.
But there were so many of them. And why? It would have been so easy to be honest about who she is.
Samantha's line hits different. People aren't just looking at timelines anymore. They're looking at the law. They're looking at precedent. They're asking whether born of the body, the same phrase threatening a 9-year-old's £157 million inheritance, applies equally to 2 children who sit in the line of succession to the British throne. That's not gossip. That's constitutional arithmetic.
So all of these lies started coming out, but we didn't know that she had told the royal family so many porcupines. So it makes sense. Oh my God, I've got to keep everybody away because if they start talking, the lies come out.
Classic.
The silence from Montecito tells you everything the press statements won't. When Samantha first raised these questions, what did we get? Not a denial, not a clarification, lawyers, cease and desist letters, threats to media outlets. Harry, who wrote an entire 416-page book about every embarrassing detail of his life, including frostbitten body parts, somehow couldn't find one paragraph to put the surrogate rumors to rest. A man who told the world about his first time behind a pub can't tell us which doctor witnessed his children's births, As one critic put it, Harry will write about everything except the things that actually matter.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
Here's where I land on this. Prince William didn't create this problem. He inherited it, the same way he'll inherit the crown. And from everything we can see, he's not ignoring it. He's quietly building a monarchy that doesn't have question marks where birth certificates should be. The Marquis of Bath is fighting for his son in open court. Full transparency, full accountability. Harry and Meghan, lawyers in the shadows, legal threats instead of simple answers. One family demonstrates what transparency looks like. The other demonstrates what damage control looks like. And my audience, the people who watched Diana's wedding live, who cried at her funeral, who cheered when William and Catherine stepped onto that balcony, they know the difference. They've been watching this family longer than Meghan has been pretending to be part of it. A monarchy built on bloodlines can survive scandal. It can survive divorce. It can survive a prince writing a tell-all book about his frostbitten extremities. But it cannot, and this is the bottom line, it cannot survive doubt about who is actually born to wear the crown. And right now, doubt is the only thing Meghan and Harry are producing with any consistency. If you've been following this story from the start, you already know, the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. The next video in the pipeline is going to connect dots that even I didn't see coming when I started researching this. So if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time, because once that one drops, you'll want context. And this video is the context.